Ladies and gentlemen, what you're watching right now is not a coincidence. This is not one bad headline. This is not one rough poll. This is not one embarrassing filing buried on page 47 of some government website. This is everything collapsing at once, because while most Americans were focused on Christmas, something very different was happening behind the scenes. The Democratic Party quietly slipped into full-blown crisis mode. Their money, gone. Their polls, collapsing. Their base, fracturing. And their narrative, completely hijacked. In fact, new filings confirm the Democrats are now $16 million in debt. Not short on cash, not tight, not drowning. Guys, it is worse than that. In fact, at the same time, fresh polls are showing that voters are bailing, independents, working families, even long-term Democrats are finally saying enough. And just as the nightmare was settling in, President Donald J. Trump, he just did what President Trump does. He changed the entire news cycle overnight. So while Democrats were scrambling to explain their finances and spin disastrous numbers, President Trump delivered a decisive Christmas strike against ISIS abroad. Lawful, coordinated, and unmistakable. One move, one message, total contrast. Strength versus panic, control versus chaos, momentum versus meltdown. So tonight we're going to walk through how the Democratic Party ended up here, how this moment is worse than anything that they were prepared for, and how President Trump's timing turned their bad week into a full-scale political nightmare. Because once you see how bad these pieces connect, you're going to understand why this isn't just bad news for Democrats. This is a turning point. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate your support. Now, let's go ahead and slow this down just for a second, because this is right where people miss kind of what's really happening here. Now, this is not about one bad headline for Democrats. This isn't we'll spin it by Monday. This is stacked failure compressed into a single week. I mean, you got end of year timing, Christmas week, when narratives usually go quiet, when donors check out, when campaigns try to reset. And instead of peace, Democrats get hit with three simultaneous shocks: financial exposure, polling collapse, and a president who completely hijacks the national conversation with decisive action. Now that matters. This really matters, because politics is not just about facts. It's about sequence. And the sequence here is brutal. The debt news lands first, then the polls confirm the public mood, and before Democrats can even regain their footing, Trump steps in and changes the subject entirely with strength. This is why this feels different. There's no recovery window. There's no narrative oxygen. Every attempt to pivot gets drowned out by the next hit. And when crises stack like this, it's no longer about messaging, it's about control. And right now, Democrats don't have it. And so this is what turns a bad week into a nightmare. Now let's talk about the number they never wanted front and center: $16 million in debt. Now, this didn't come from a leak. This didn't come from opposition research. This came straight from FEC filings, hard numbers, no spin. Now, here's why that matters. Political parties don't just run on vibes, they run on cash flow. Debt at this level doesn't just hurt optics. It cripples operations. It limits ad buys. It delays staff hiring. It weakens legal fights. It forces internal triage heading straight into 2026. Meanwhile, Republicans are financially stable. They're not exaggerating. There's no puffery, just a clean contrast. One party digging out of a hole, the other preparing to play offense. And donors see this instantly. Big donors don't panic publicly. They quietly just stop returning phone calls. They wait, they hedge, they redirect. So when Democrats say that this is manageable, I want you to understand what that really means. They're already on defense, already explaining instead of leading. And once a party starts explaining its finances, the panic has already begun. So the obvious question becomes, how does a major political party end up $16 million in a hole? Anybody else wondering, how did this happen? Let me see, show of hands. Okay, the answer isn't very complicated. It's just uncomfortable. See, Democrats didn't just spend a lot of money in 2024 with Kamala Harris's campaign. They burned money aggressively, chasing narratives that never materialized and voters who just never came back. Massive ad buys, expensive consultants, endless messaging pivots, all sorts of A-list celebrities. All of it was built on the assumption that spending more automatically meant winning. It didn't. And that's the real damage here. Donors don't just look at losses. They look at return on investment, ROI. And in 2024, Democrats spent a big amount of money and they lost anyway. Huge sums of money. This is how confidence gets shattered. This is the moment when high-dollar donors stop believing the pitch. When fundraisers hear, let's see how things shake out. When the checks don't bounce, they just never arrive. Because losing an election hurts, but losing while outspending your opponent, I don't even see how it gets any worse than that. That is when donors start asking whether the party still knows what they're even freaking doing. And so once the doubt sets in, money doesn't rush back, it waits. And so this is exactly where real people feel this stuff the hardest. So if you were reached out to me recently, he told me he got hit with a $900 medical bill in the same month that his car broke down. Same month, no cushion, no warning, no wait, no gap. His Medicare plan technically covered the visit, but not the procedure. He told me it broke me, emotionally more than financially. And this is the part nobody talks about, because that bill didn't come from doing something reckless. It actually came from not knowing what was hiding inside of his existing coverage. This is why I partner with Chapter, folks. Chapter helps people understand the fine print before it turns into a gut punch. They look for gaps, they look for traps, and quiet changes that most people never see coming. That way, you don't get blindsided when life already hits you hard. Now, most people watching this are already dialing the phone number at the bottom of your screen, 909-563-8279, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron to get their coverage reviewed, because panic is expensive and clarification is protection. Now, layer that financial damage on top of the polling, and this is where Democrats really run out of excuses. Now, these aren't fringe polls. These aren't one-off outliers. What we're seeing is directional collapse, especially among independents and working class voters. Approval numbers aren't just low, they're stubbornly low. And worse, they're not rebounding after another election season. That's the danger zone, because voters aren't just undecided. They're deciding against Democrats. Working families, they're saying that the party doesn't hear them. Independents say that the priorities feel disconnected. Even reliable voters, they're drifting into frustration instead of enthusiasm. Now, here's the part that nobody wants to say out loud. You can't poll your way out of trust erosion. You can't message your way out of credibility loss. When people stop believing what you say, polling doesn't bounce, it hardens. This is what Democrats are facing right now. Not a dip, not a slump, but a structural problem that money alone can't fix, especially when the money's gone. Now, let's get to the why, okay? Because polling doesn't collapse in a vacuum. Voters didn't just wake up one day and randomly turn on Democrats. They didn't do that. This revolt has been building for a long time around immigration, crime, and trust. And the common thread tying all of these together is credibility. Now, on immigration, voters see chaos where they were promised control. They see enforcement talked about endlessly, and then they watched it delayed, softened, or litigated away. On crime, they hear slogans, but they live with the consequences. Rising anxiety, softer prosecution, and a feeling that public safety has become negotiable. And trust, that's the real killer. Once voters believe a party is more interested in protecting narratives than protecting neighborhoods, the relationship fractures. Independents leave first, working class voters follow, and then suddenly Democrats are trying to explain positions that they never clearly defended in the first place. Contrast that with President Trump's posture: enforce the law, remove ambiguity, project certainty. You don't have to agree with every move to understand why it resonates. Because when people feel unsafe or ignored, clarity beats complexity every single time. And Democrats right now, they're explaining while voters are exiting. And then came the moment that completely broke the Democrats' week. So while they were scrambling to manage debt headlines and bad polling, President Donald J. Trump authorized a targeted coordinated strike against ISIS narratives in Nigeria. Lawful, approved, defensive. There was no theatrics, no chest thumping, just action. And the timing mattered. Christmas week, folks. Low expectations, a moment when leadership is usually invisible. And instead, Trump asserted it globally. That single decision did something powerful. It reset the news cycle. Suddenly, Democrats weren't arguing about money or messaging. They were reacting. And reaction is weakness in politics. The strike sent a clear signal abroad and at home. Threats will be answered, allies will be coordinated with, and hesitation is over. And notice the contrast. Trump didn't need to over-explain it. He didn't need days of clarification. The clarification was the message. While Democrats were stuck defending spreadsheets and polls, Trump was defending leadership, and the entire conversation moved right along with him. So what happened next told you everything you need to know. Republicans reacted with confidence, calm, clarity. The message was simple. This was what leadership looks like: targeted action, clear purpose, no confusion. Democrats, they melted down. So instead of responding with substance, they defaulted to process complaints, semantic arguments, and performative outrage. Was it authorized? Was it proportional? Was it symbolic? While they argued about framing, the public saw decisiveness. And that contrast is deadly because politics rewards momentum. The side that looks like it knows what it's doing gains ground. The side that looks more reactive loses it. Democrats weren't leading the conversation, they were chasing it. And you could feel it. Interviews sounded defensive, statements felt rushed, and every attempt to criticize Trump only reminded people that he had just acted while they were still debating. This is why supporters called it a Christmas present, not because of theatrics, but because it exposed weakness. When one side projects certainty and the other projects confusion, voters don't need talking points. They instinctively know who's in control. Now, zoom out for a moment because this wasn't just about one strike. This was about presence. Trump projects deterrence abroad while Democrats argue among themselves at home. That contrast has been building for months, but this moment crystallized it. Foreign policy isn't just about outcomes, it's about perception. Allies look for reliability. Adversaries, they look for hesitation. And Trump's posture sends a very clear signal. Decisions will be made. Coordination will happen and threats won't linger unanswered. Meanwhile, Democrats can't even agree internally on what strength even looks like. Some demand restraint, others demand oversight, others argue process, and in that noise, clarity disappears. This doesn't require exaggeration, it's visible. One side moves, the other debates whether moving is even allowed. Now here's the political reality here. Voters don't want philosophical seminars when it comes to national security. They just want assurance. Right now, Trump is offering assurance. Democrats, they're offering arguments. And in moments like this, that difference widens real fast. So this is the part that the media never admits out loud. Sometimes the narrative just breaks, not because of bias, not because of conspiracy, but because too many bad stories hit at once. I mean, you had financial filings exposing real debt. You had polling that confirmed real voter erosion. And then you had a decisive foreign policy action that completely reset attention. No newsroom can spin all three simultaneously. That's when you get whiplash. Anchors jump topics mid-segment. Talking points conflict, panels argue past each other, and suddenly the illusion of control disappears. Now, the media isn't guiding the conversation anymore. It's reacting to it. And when audiences sense that confusion, trust drops further. This isn't about censorship or coordination. It's about overload. When facts pile up faster than narratives can be built, framing collapses. Democrats depend on coherence. And so when that coherence fractures, every weakness becomes visible at once. This is what made this week different. Not just bad coverage, unimaginable coverage. And once narrative control snaps, regaining it takes far longer than losing it. Now here's where panic turns structural, because donors don't just fund presidential races. They fund infrastructure, governors, House seats, Senate defenses. And when party leadership looks weak, donors start thinking defensively. They don't ask, how do we expand? They ask, where do we pull back? Debt plus bad polling, this is a terrifying combination heading into an off-year cycle. It signals instability, and instability scares money away, especially risk-averse money that supports marginal races. And so this is how losses cascade. A donor skips one race, a committee delays spending, a candidate struggles to hire staff, momentum shifts quietly, early, and irreversibly. Democrats aren't just facing voter skepticism, they're facing capital hesitation. And once that hesitation sets in, rebuilding confidence takes a lot more than speeches. It takes wins. But wins require resources. And resources are exactly what Democrats are running out of. And so this is exactly why this isn't just panic. It's positioning, and it's already happening. So when you step back and you look at the whole picture, it becomes very clear why Democrats are completely rattled at this point. This isn't one scandal that they can wait out. This is not one poll they can spin. This isn't one decision that they can memory hole. This is a systemic breakdown happening in real time. A party in debt, a base losing faith, independents walking away, donors hesitating, media narratives are fracturing. I mean, all while President Donald J. Trump is visibly in command at home and abroad, defining the tempo instead of reacting to it. That's the nightmare. Because momentum in politics is everything. And right now, well, the momentum favors clarity, decisiveness, and strength. It favors the side that looks like it knows where it's going and how to get there. Democrats, they don't need better messaging. They need time, they need money, and they need trust. And at this moment, they're short on all three. This week didn't create the Democrats' problems. It simply exposed them. And once exposure happens, there's no going back to pretending like everything's fine. This is why this moment matters. This is why it feels different. And this is why this isn't just bad for Democrats. This is the kind of nightmare you don't wake up from overnight.